good. So Kuf Samach Gimel. Ve'ata shehe'erich hagalus b'avnoseinu harabim. Now that the galus has extended for such a long time, b'avnoseinu harabim, as a result of our transgressions, yoser midai, even more, too much, too long. Yesh liYisrael lihibadel mehevle ha'olam. It is incumbent upon the Jewish people to divorce themselves from the unimportant things in this world, velechos b'chomosoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shu emes, and to take hold of the walls of God, which are those of truth, meaning the steadfast, steady, reliable walls of Hashem. And this is already probably 500 years ago when the book was written, approximately. Imagine where we are now. And the Jewish people should take the approach of sanctifying themselves, even with things that are permitted for them. And that's viewed as being kind of an extra degree of piety, of holiness, imposing limitations on things which are even permitted to us. For people like us who come from the world and the lifestyle that we come from and live in the world that we do live in, it's probably not so relevant to have this approach for most people. But but the point is, at least, that when you're having your delicious Or Sameach lunches, and you would like very much, because of the delicious cuisine, to have a second and a third portion, you should perhaps think about satisfying yourself with one portion. But the point is this: is that if a person is eaten enough to satisfy the physical need of his body for fuel, and it's just his taste buds which would like him to have more, but then he'll get full and be heavy. So a person might consider not taking that third or fourth or fifth portion, and just being satisfied with being satiated. Or if a person's had a nice, good 7-hour night of sleep, 6 might not be enough. 8 might be just right. 7, borderline. Alarm clock rings, get up, go daven, be on time, rather than say, I really, really, really could have enjoyed another hour. This would be an example of, even though it's permitted to sleep, you're not doing anything wrong, but if you can sacrifice a little bit of one's comfort, this is the type of thing that he's discussing here. And the truth is, it's related to the idea that the Shekhinah is also in Golus. As long as the Jewish people are in Golus, the Shekhinah is also in Golus. And the Shekhinah suffers very much from being exiled. And therefore, if we not, let's say, abuse ourselves or afflict ourselves, but at least refrain from some extra degree of comfort, in a way that's kind of showing empathy for the fact that we and the Shekhinah are in Golus. So he's encouraging us, like I said, to separate ourselves from things which are even permitted in order to avoid unnecessary comfort. You want to drink. Well, what you really need is liquid. You don't need sugar concentrated, caffeine rich Coca-Cola or coffee more than 5 times a day. So after your 5th cup of coffee, you might decide, at this point, I'm going to just drink water, because that's really what I need, water. This is the type of thing, right? Every person, according to his particular situation. The point is, what is it that I really need? I need the fuel, I need the food, I need the drink, I need sleep to rejuvenate myself. And therefore, I'm going to try and be aware of, perhaps not taking more than I really need, or not that much more than I really need. And one should do that in the name of subjugating himself to Hashem, dedicating himself to Hashem, empathizing with the Shekhinah. That's the concept of the Kaddish Atzmecha B'Masher Mutar Lach, which means to sanctify yourself regarding the things that have to do with bodily pleasure, even though it's permitted, and it has to do, of course, married. There are ways in which this applies to married people as well. V'shalo l'shaker lo l'Yisrael v'lo l'goy, not to lie neither to a Jew or to a non-Jew. V'lo lahatoisam b'shum inyan, and not to mislead people in any way. Shneimar, it says, Sheris Yisrael lo ya'asu avla, the remnant of Israel shall not do transgression, not do evil. V'lo yidabur chazav, they will not speak falsehood. V'lo yimotze b'fihem loshon tarmis, and there will be not found in their mouths duplicitous speech. Tarmis is like the word ramai, ramos. V'od ksiv, and furthermore it says in the verse, Uzratiha li ba'aretz, I will plant it for me in the earth. Perhaps it's referring to truth. Klum adam zorea seah el lachnis kama korim. Does a person plant for himself a specific quantity, a saw, in the earth, with any other, with an intention other than getting many more quantities in return? That's clearly the intention, right? When you plant a little with the intention of getting much more. So God dispersed and planted Israel among the different nations, in order that there should be attached to them, added to them, gerim, converts. This is a statement in the Chazal, in the Gemara, Psachim. One of the reasons why, according to this, God sent the Jewish people dispersed across the globe is in order to spread the word of Judaism across the globe by way of bringing gerim, converts, to Judaism. Interesting. Because we don't really proselytize. We're not interested in pushing our religion too strongly on anybody else. In fact, we discourage people if they want to convert, because we're more interested in quality than quantity, meaning the convert has to be somebody who's sincere. Interesting phenomenon. Celebrities are becoming a little more interested in their Judaism. They marry their Jewish spouses who are converting. They're raising children who they call Sinai, or I don't know what they call them.
Pizza.
What? Pizza? Yeah. But in any case, we're interested in sincere conversion. It could be the point is also just to promote the ideas of monotheism across the world as well. As long as the Jews, I believe, he says here, as long as the Jews are not acting in a false way, they're acting truthfully, yidbeku behem, then they, the non-Jews, will cleave themselves to the Jews as converts, using the context here. But I was just expanding that beyond the idea of conversion, which is not necessary. Just the Jewish people is being a light unto the nations by inspiring them with the true teachings of the one true God, which are applicable to all of humanity. Everybody would be inspired by that. V'hina Kadosh Baruch Hu hikpid al gozel shel reshoim. God is careful, and He is particular, prohibiting even stealing from the wicked. Shenemar timalei ha'aretz chamas. The earth became full of treachery and theft. Maaseh Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach. There was a story about Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach, a Tana in the Gemara. Shekana chamor mi Ishmaeli. He bought a mule from an Ishmaelite long before the Ishmaelites knew anything about Islam. They were idolaters. Halchu talmidov umatzu even toiva tluya betzvaro. So the students of Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach, they went and they found that there was actually a very precious gem hanging from the neck of this mule that Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach bought. Amulo Talmidov. So his student said to him, Rabbi, Birkas Hashem hita ashir. They quoted from a verse, through the blessing of God, a person becomes wealthy. Here, you've bought a mule from an idolatrous Ishmaelite, and you end up getting a precious gem along with the deal. God has made you rich. Amar lehem, he said to them, Chamor kanisi. What did I buy? A mule. Even toiv v'lo kanisi. I didn't buy a gem. I bought the mule and not the jewel. Holach v'hechzir oisoy Ishmaeli. So the rabbi went and he returned the gem to the Ishmaelite. Karalav oisoy Ishmaeli. The Ishmaelite said about him, Baruch Hashem, Elokei Shimon ben Shetach. Blessed is the God of Shimon ben Shetach. That's a Kiddush Hashem. V'chen yesh b'Yushalmi, so the Yushalmi also says, Hachamim askenim konu chitim min hagoyim. The Gemara in Yushalmi talks about the wise Jewish sages who bought kernels of wheat from non-Jews, umatzu bo tzror shel mos vehechziru lehem, and they found inside the wheat that they bought a bundle of money. So they returned the money to the non-Jewish sellers. Amru goyim. So the non-Jew said, Brich Elohon de Yehudoi, blessed is the God of the Jews. So you see here the very importance of being honest and truthful and straightforward with everyone, Jews and non-Jews alike. A tremendous Kiddush Hashem can come about by being honest and straightforward. Many other such scenarios where people returned things to non-Jews or did other nice things, and it caused a Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of God's name. Therefore, we have to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. Very, very careful. Unfortunately, again, whether the news is correct or not, or whether it's accurate or not, I don't know, but it seems that in recent years, more and more very unfortunate scenarios are publicized where otherwise seemingly observant individuals are suspected or even accused of doing very unfaithful, incorrect, improper things. There's a tremendous chilul Hashem. Ukashiyesh emes lamato, when there is truth below, az yashkiv Hashem yisbarach betzedek al haaretz, then God will look righteously from above onto the earth. Shenemar, it says, emes mi'eretz tismach betzedek mishamayim nishkaf. Truth will sprout from the earth, and as a result of that, righteousness from heaven will be shown. So that the more truthful, honest, straightforward, and humble we are here, the more we cause God to look in a favorable way towards the world, for the benefit of not only the Jewish people, but the entire world. And therefore, look very seriously to the fact that all of your dealings will be truthful. Ra otov, whether they be bad or good, maybe what it means, I'm not sure what he means by that. V'tismoch al okel ne'eman shomer bris v'chesed lo yavav v'shomer mitzvosav. Maybe what it means is, whether you perceive that to be good for you or bad for you, be truthful. Even if it seems that it's going to be at your detriment, you must be truthful. It'll harm you in some way, you feel that you'll lose in some way. No, you have to be truthful. And rely upon what it says in the verse. Akel ne'eman, God is the one you can rely on. Shomer habris, He guards the covenant. The chesed, and the loving kindness. The oavav, to those who love Him. U'l'shomer mitzvosav, and those who guard His commandments. Now, we said there are certain scenarios where it's considered to be proper and acceptable to tell a non-truth. If you have no other recourse but to do so in order to prevent somebody from being taken advantage of, you're protecting the person from being taken advantage of, like we mentioned, for example. Or people are prying into your personal affairs. You can, right, if there's no other way out of it, tell a non-truth. Or, for example, to try and stir up some feeling of love and goodwill between a husband and wife, so they have shalom bais and things like that. It should be. What? Okay. Yes. Oh, shalom, rod of shalom. Yeah. And we saw in an earlier section here, a person's supposed to praise the bride. Oh, she's a beautiful bride. She's a very righteous bride. Even if it's not entirely true. Right, different explanations. I think you suggested one, which is, well, she's beautiful to him. And I said, even if she's not, he can still say that she's very pleasant. Very pleasant. So either you don't understand pleasant looking or pleasant behaving. Yeah.
If you don't know the bride, what do you say?
Even if you do know the bride, it's better to actually say something like, I hear. Because what are you doing looking at this guy's bride to say that she's complimenting her on her beauty? So it's probably more customarily, right, rather than saying she's a beautiful bride. And my wife told me, or my sister told me, I've heard, I understand from my women folk that your wife is a beautiful woman, and they're very beautiful in deeds, which is the main thing, and a righteous woman, and you should. What's that?
I'm just wondering what we're supposed to say tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, you can say, I hear that the Kala is an amazing girl. You guys should have a great life together, whatever. You hear from the Rabbi, you hear from the Rebbetzin, you hear from the neighbors. What?
Push the beauty. Put that word in.
You don't have to, because another explanation, which is the one that I suggested, which is No'a b'ma'aseha. Yeah, No'a b'ma'aseha. She's pleasant in her deeds. She's attractive. Her ways, her deeds are attractive. That's another explanation. Not referring to her physical beauty. Kala No'a v'chasuda. Like I said, it's probably not so appropriate for a man to say about another woman, yes, that she's attractive. But you could say, if it's appropriate. And I hear from my wife that the Kala is very attractive and very a real tzedekis. Hashem, you should have a wonderful life together and shalom bais. Children and so forth and so on. Yeah, but even without that, it's just a mazel tov. They have a great life together, full of Torah and mitzvahs. Amen. That's the surest bet. I'm just saying, Chazal do say that you're supposed to say to a person, Kala No'a v'chasuda. So how do we explain that? Particularly if she's not. So the answer is, she probably is to him, because otherwise he wouldn't marry her. And even if he had no choice and he knows that that's not true, another explanation is that her ways are nice. Umahi ne'emunasoi. What is God's faithfulness? That we can rely on Him. Shushomer bris. That He guards the covenant. His promise to us. Im tzadik choto chet kal. If a righteous person made a relatively small transgression, hu poreh gmulo bo'olam hazeh. God pays him his reward for this misdeed in this world. V'zeh davar bor, and this is clear. Shetov yoser letzadik liyos nidoin afilu b'yisurim ki iyov kol yamav, that a person at tzaddik would much rather be punished in even his whole life, like Job. Begufa, with his body, shu davar bazui, which anyway is something inferior. Bo'olam hazeh, in this world, shehu lo zman katzar lichiyos, where a person only has a relatively small life to live anyway, for the purpose of giving the good reward to the soul, shehi nichbedes, which is very elevated, bo'olam elyon, in the supernal realm, she'enu kole, which is not finite, ve'enu posek lo'ilamim, it doesn't terminate ever. So it would be much better, therefore, for a person to endure suffering because of misdeeds here in this world, in the low body, in a limited lifetime, in order to get the great reward in the spiritual realm forever. And that's better for the righteous person than if God did not kind of reckon with him for his transgressions in this world. But rather, he would have to judge the soul of the righteous for these misdeeds in Gehinnom. That would be much worse. Or because of his transgression, even if it's not something which would require his going to Gehinnom, but it would lower his spiritual stature in the world to come, that would also be much, much worse than a whole lifetime of suffering here. And because doing so would limit him from cleaving to the elevation on high. The emanation of God on high. This light, there can be nothing compared. But for the Rishoyim, who have mostly bad deeds, they only have just a few good deeds, there God gives them their reward here. Have a great time while it lasts, because it's only 120 years. After that, you'll be sorry. That all happens for the wicked, but their transgressions, they are preserved for the person in the long world. And in the great tragic agony that they will experience in Gehinnom in order to reckon with their great misdeeds that they've done here. And that agony is incomparable. You can't. Right? It's tough. Of course, it's a very good question. Why is it that the righteous get the punishment here and the reward there, and the wicked have the other way around? The reward here and the punishment there? Make up your mind. If the world for punishment is here, everybody should be punished here. And the world for reward there, so everybody should be rewarded there. As a result, the wicked will be punished greatly here, and the righteous only a little bit. In the world to come, the righteous will be rewarded greatly, and the wicked only a very little bit. This should be consistent. Why do we go the other way around? It's like a different system for each one, right? Right? The righteous reckon with their transgressions here, but they get their mitzvahs there. The wicked reckon with their mitzvahs here, and their transgressions there. It's like a double standard. So one I think very good explanation is as follows: is that God doesn't punish anybody just for the sake of punishing. Right? The purpose of punishment and reward is for a person's own good. But that's all a function of our free will. So God says, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to reward you in a way which you decide for yourself. How does the person decide? God says, the reward is very good. I want to give you the reward in the world that you consider to be the most important world for you. So let's take a look. The wicked person thinks about this world or the next? This world. Okay. So you make your decision that this world is your main world, so this is where you're going to get your reward. Right? It's only fair, right? You should get your reward in the world which is the most important for you. So they're rewarded here. But the transgressions aren't wiped away. He's going to have to reckon with those. He's made his choice. By default, the transgressions will be reckoned with there. The righteous person, God strokes his beard, he says, let's see. What's this person's main world? This or the next? The next. The next. So I'm going to give you a reward which is the most important, the place which is more important to you, the world to come. There are transgressions that everybody has, even the righteous. They have to be reckoned with. So where do they be reckoned with? Here. So then everyone says, I'm going to go with you. Whatever you choose, it's your decision. Whatever you decide is your main plane of existence, that's where I want to give you the reward that you're deserving. It's your decision. And that's why you have a different, it's like a converse. Yeah.
How long is the world to come?
He says here everlasting. On the other hand, we know that according to Jewish teachings, there will be a time when there will be a resurrection. In which case, the Jewish soul, well, not just the Jewish, but the souls of the righteous will be reintroduced into bodies, into this world. In which case, the world to come as a soul world alone would be something that doesn't seem to be everlasting. There's going to be some time when those souls are reintroduced into bodies, into resurrection. But it could be that insofar as at the time of resurrection, according to most opinions, will be an everlasting state. So it's really the same thing. It's just a continuum. And the author is not going into world to come part 1, which I think we might have learned together, or world to come part 2. It's all the world to come. And that's what he means to say, the world to come is everlasting. It starts in the soul world. It continues afterwards in the world of resurrection, but it's all part of the world to come. World to come part 1, the soul world. World to come part 2, the world of resurrection. But it's forever.
Why would the righteous want to be resurrected?
Why not? I mean, it's a higher state.
It's a higher state.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
To be reconnected to the physical again?
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's kind of counterintuitive. But without going into too much detail now, since we don't have time, but basically the idea is that it's true that in the world as we know it, the physical occludes the spiritual. The physical weighs down like an anchor on the spiritual, impeding the spiritual from realizing its full potential. But when the world has become perfected, and part of that process will be through resurrection, so then the bodies will be much more, so all of physicality, including bodies, will be spiritualized, so that they will not weigh down and occlude the soul. On the contrary, they will aid the soul, and the soul will elevate and be elevated by them. And it's considered to be a much more spiritually harmonious state when the body and soul can coexist together. And not in a state of negation. So it's going to be like a period which is more akin to what we were talking about yesterday, where this world is called the world of Sheker, and it's an oilam, it's a place which hides God. But there will be a time when God's presence is introduced into the world at such an extent that it's going to be glowing from all of reality. And when that seeming contradiction between physical and spiritual is reconciled so that we see that everything absolutely is God, that actually is a higher degree of spirituality than spiritual without physical. Yeah. Seeing the spiritual in the physical is a higher degree than seeing the spiritual as separate from the physical. That's what it boils down to. So let's just try and finish off this chapter here with one sentence. Harachaman yadrichenu ba'amitoi, may the merciful one guide us in his ways of truth. V'vienu lechadorov, and bring us to his chambers. Lahagia leor ha'elyoin, to reach the upper light. Asher sham chevyoin uzoi utzvi tifarto, where we'll find the glory of his strength and the desire of his splendor. Beautiful wording. Okay, so that ends this chapter on truth. We'll continue B'ezrat Hashem next time on the next chapter, which is going to be flattery.